Happy Tuesday, everyone. Welcome to Behavioral Health Echo. My name is Summer. Today, we are so happy to have Angela Coloretti McGough, and thank you for that phonetic bio that you provided me with. And she's from Kapiolani Community College, and she'll be sharing with us on a briefing of the five love languages. So, without further ado, I'd like to hand it over to her. We're going to do things different. She'll run the icebreaker, and as she mentioned earlier, please have a pen and paper ready. Welcome, Angela.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Summer, and thank you so much to I Echo for inviting me. I want to say this is going to be the largest Zoom group that I've ever done this workshop for. So I'm super duper nervous, actually. But I'm, lucky that I get to hide behind a screen. So let's see. I would like to share my screen with you, and I'll do that. Let me move these controls. It's the Zoom world. Close, and let's get started. So can everybody see this okay? Thumbs up, little icons, emojis. All right.
Not yet. It's still, oh, there we go. Perfect.
Okay, so it might be on a little delay. Let me make this side bigger too, then I can see more people. So happy to be here. All right, so as was mentioned before, my name is Angela Coloretti McGough. Coloretti like spaghetti, McGough like cough. I'm currently the coordinator and counselor for the Native Hawaiian Student Success Programs here at Kapiolani Community College. And I'd like to start by sharing our land acknowledgement statement. You don't have to read it in total, but essentially, I want to recognize that the land that the University of Hawaii sits on and all of our colleges are part of the Pai'aina for the indigenous people who came before us. So it's my hope that through this workshop and through the work that we all do, that we're honoring those that came before us and those that will follow. And this is going to be an interactive session. So as I mentioned before, we will be chatting and learning together. Hopefully you're going to learn something about someone you don't work with typically or don't know very well. And again, a little reminder to have a means of keeping notes. I'd also like to acknowledge Corey Connor. She's my sister from another mister at Leeward Community College. We had been doing this workshop together since 2010. And Sue Lazo also, who used to work here at Kapi'olani Community College. We're going to discuss our shared purpose, and especially after the pandemic, I know for all of us in this Zoom room, that has definitely taken a toll on ourselves and the people we serve. And so I want to share a little bit about a communication style assessment that can help us to help others. And we'll talk a little bit about Aloha. We'll dive into the five love languages. Again, it's definitely a briefing because there's books and books and books about it. And then, like any good educator, I want to make sure students learned so that you have, come away with something that you can use and then share with me how you've implemented it. So first I'd like to start with the chat. So I'm going to move my chat over here. And in the chat, I would like for you to write your name and how you pronounce it. So I'll give you an example. So Angela Coloretti. It's so funny because my brother-in-law still calls me Coroletti. I don't know why. Okay, McGough. So your phonetics, pronunciation, where you're from, and something memorable about yourself or your name. So youngest of 5. Okay, girls. All right. So take a minute. I would like to see who's here, and I'm going to move the chat up here so I can see it better. I know it might get in your way. So again, your name, how you pronounce it, if it's not obvious. And I mean, if your name is Summer, it's pronounced Summer, right? But if your last name might be a little bit differently pronounced. For example, people say McGough or McGough, so I like to say McGough. I'm from Kaimaki, and I have 4 older sisters. So let's see what folks come up with. Ooh. Okay, I'm gonna just pull this down. Apologize. I know it covers the screen a little.
It doesn't cover the screen.
Oh, really? Okay, good. I'm gonna keep it right here then. Oh my gosh, someone named after a singer. Named after their grandparents. I love that. My middle name is after my step grandmother as well. Couple, so someone named after a singer, someone named after an actress. That is funny. Little funny story about someone's name. So I see we have Maui, Kaneohe, Honolulu, Guam. Oh, yay. Kahaluu. Someone is a twin. Thank you for telling us that because I have been tricked by twins in the past. Um,
This is so good for me because for years I've been just processing people's names on as their participation and issuing certificates. And in my mind, I have said their name in my way for years. and,
yes, yeah.
and a few of them I was wrong.
Ooh, I love this with the letters. That's a great way to share how you say your name. We have someone from California who has 9 aunts and uncles. Whew. I love using someone else's name and then adding a letter or taking away a letter. Um, yep. My son's name is Kaimana, which means diamond. Anglified, it means diamond. It also means powerful ocean. But yes, he's my precious jewel as well. Oh, yes. I apologize to those of you who have very common names, especially here in the Pacific. When you Google someone and about 600 names show up, you're thinking, okay, but they're an MD, and then you look and then there's 300. Awesome. Oh, I love it. Okay, Summer. So you can keep track of this. I'm gonna move on. I love this. Um, I love how people are named, like women are named after their dads. That also happens a lot. And let's see. Yeah, I'm gonna have to hang on to this. Thank you so much, everyone. So last time I checked, there was about 90 people here. So hopefully we've got all 90.
Of 106.
Oh my gosh, now I'm really nervous. Okay, so as we're scrolling through all the answers in the chat, please enter into the chat. What did you notice about the instructions and the answers? Don't do number 3 yet. We're just on numbers 1 and 2. What did you notice about the instructions? Okay, so a couple answers so far. We noticed that we describe ourselves with a sense of place, locating us, grounding us, right? Sharing their origins. It can be vague, and in that way, it doesn't have to be too personal. It's up to interpretation of how the person wants to share their own story or their own identity. Um, I love that. Broad instructions and open-ended so that folks can answer in any way that they want. Some people went super brief. Some people went more into detail. This is a good segue into communication styles. Some of us are very like to the point, and very, don't want to share personal. Some of us are like, a paragraph. And it also shares the uniqueness of the person who is sharing. So often people mispronounce your name. And so the reason why I like to start with your name is because it's really important that you know who you're talking to. And the first thing that they do is introduce themselves with their name. So we'll talk more about listening and acknowledging and hearing folks, and their name and how you pronounce it is a very important part of it. For me, with my students, that's one thing that they say their big complaint is that their faculty member doesn't know their name or gets it wrong or confuses them with someone else. So definitely the importance of pronunciation is key. I love it. Okay, this is a really smart group. Awesome. Okay, so now if it's possible on your either in the chat or on your screen using reactions, let's see, can we do this? I would love to see some emojis to see how you're feeling after that activity. Let's see some. I just got one happy face in the chat. Wow. And hearts. That's so appropriate for the love languages. Oh, we've got a Shaka. Hugs. Big eyes. I love it. Okay. And a dancer. We've got the dance emoji. These are great. Thank you so much. I'm going to move on just in the interest of time, but please continue to share your emojis. And I'm going to actually put my timer on because folks who know me know that time is my enemy. And I want to make sure that I give us enough time if there's questions. So thank you again, everyone, for sharing details about yourself. And now let's switch gears to talk about work. So we know since the pandemic, regardless of your industry, we've seen budget cuts, we've seen people leave, understaffing, we have inflation. For some of us, especially who have administrative roles, we've seen a number of changes in procedures in a very short period of time. They're working online, and as we know, we are in online room right now. A lot of times there's more demand, more emails, more, things to respond to, and a lot of pings. And the interactions may have become more transactional. I need this, I need that. Here's what you asked for, right? Versus interpersonal. When we're with each other in person, even now, some people don't know how to be. I'm seeing that with my students for sure that are coming out of high school. They're just not used to being in person with everybody. And there's continued health concerns that are very real worries, fears, and anxieties. But right now, I think we also have found some creative ways to engage with others online, like, for example, this workshop. We've developed some efficiencies in our workflow, which didn't exist before. And for everyone in this room, we know that due to COVID, we are able to really talk more about mental health and wellness. The stigma has been reduced, and there's an awareness that it's super important. And also what I love is when we first came back, some people were just super duper duper happy to see and be with other people. So now a few people in the chat, what % of workers globally do you think strongly agree that they received recognition or praise for doing good work in the past 7 days? So what percentage do you think of workers around the world, according to Gallup. 3% strongly agreed. So we've got a range here. We've got 20, 20. I feel like a auctioneer. 2025. I see 25, 20, 2015. I see 40, 41. A couple people said 1. 1% agree that they receive recognition or praise. Oh my. Okay. So we've got a range. I think the highest that I saw was maybe 40. It's actually 25%, as in 2020, only 1 out of 4 workers agreed that they received praise for the work that they had done, the good work they had done. And 52% of the working population around the world are currently looking for or seeking a new job. So we're looking at, a massive number of possibly dissatisfied people that are not recognized for the good work that they're doing. And the work environment may be less appealing than it used to be. So, a couple years back, we heard the term the Great Resignation. And so we're losing our coworkers, and people are retiring early, and we're seeing a lot of this shift. So we want our colleagues, our supervisees, and especially our clients and patients we want them to know that we get it. We understand. we know what it's like to be in the working world and not be appreciated. Most people, according to Dr. Covey, Dr. Stephen R. Covey, don't listen with the intent to understand. They listen with the intent to reply. So I know that I'm guilty of this. Someone's talking and I'm like thinking I have a great thing to add and I want to just like jump in. And so we're not necessarily hearing. I don't think anyone in this group has this problem when they're at work, working with clients and others. But when we're, in our day-to-day lives or just chatting with our coworkers, maybe we don't stop to really listen. So my goal for you at the end of this workshop is, if there's one thing you take away, it's seek first to understand in any situation, any location. So for example, self-reflection, imagine, and this may actually have happened with some of you, where you move somewhere, you're living, you're working, and maybe you're going to school, and no one speaks any of the languages you know. Everybody speaks a foreign language. So just reflect to yourself what that might feel like. And now imagine that you are in the majority group. So the written and spoken language is the one that you are fluent in. And you get a new colleague who speaks a different primary language. So in the chat, can you share with me how you might approach this differently, or how you might approach communication with someone who speaks a different primary language than you? Nonverbals. We know nonverbals. Actually, I was so happy to share that I could be on this screen because nonverbals are so important. Trying to find other ways to communicate beyond language. Okay. Receptive communication. This sounds like a term I'm not familiar with. Receptive communication. My guess is if you're the recipient, you are actually open and attentive and listening. You could do that by moving to a space that feels more relaxed, not speaking on the phone because of the possible language barrier, speaking more slowly and clearly, and using hand gestures as needed, right, with the nonverbals. Google Translate, so using your tools. You may have tools. Yes, more than one person. And then learning. So this person is coming and speaking a certain language, and you want to learn simple words and phrases from that language. I love that. and smiling first. There's I think it's a toothpaste commercial, but it's so cute when the teenagers, one smiles and she has braces and the other one smiles and she has braces, and it's like a smile makes such a big difference, right? Um, okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about Aloha Kekahi Kekahi. So it's a olelo no eau that means love one another. And so for me, this is the fundamental piece is when we show care for one another, regardless if we don't, if we speak their language or not, just a demonstration of care is it, it's understood. So, that in the Hawaii revised statutes, we do have the spirit of aloha law. And so Auntie Pilahi Paki had developed an acronym for aloha, and she shared it that A would be for ahakai or kindness. L is lo kahi, unity. O is for olu olu or being agreeable. H is for ha'aha'a or humility. And A is ahonui, so it's patience, waiting. Um, and so aloha as a whole is fundamental to any kind of interaction that we have. It starts with being patient, having humility, knowing, everything we're talking about, seeking first to understand, being kind, um, and agreeable. And also when everything is in balance, we feel that synergy or that unity. For teachers, it's that aha moment, right? When it like everything clicks. All right. So moving into the five love languages, I'm thinking some of you have actually heard of this before. You might have seen the book. It's been out since the 90s. It's definitely part of pop culture. People describe their love language as like napping is my love language or coffee is my love language. Um, Dr. Gary Chapman actually he was a counselor in a ministry, and he did couples counseling, and he found over the decades that there were five primary ways of communicating that he was able to group categorize, and he saw that a lot of the issues between couples and their communication was due to them not speaking each other's language. So he and others have written a number of books since then, love languages of kids, love languages, armed services. And more recently, he paired up with an industrial psychologist, Dr. Paul White, to talk about how we use language to show appreciation in the workplace. Now, I always talk about the five love languages because essentially it's the same thing. The five languages of appreciation are the five love languages repackaged in the workplace. So today we're going to focus on how we communicate using love languages at work. But just know that you are speaking your love language wherever you go, right? We're human beings. Um, and so this may be applicable in other spaces. And if you're curious, the five love languages does offer a free assessment. It's the number five, lovelanguages.com. Okay. I don't get any commission, people. It just occurred to me that it might sound like I'm trying to sell the book, but the resources on the website are free. So that's why I like to refer to it. This is where we need you to have a note-taking device because we're going to do a really quick poll. Okay, everyone ready? All right. There's 7 questions, okay? These are fill in the blank kind of statements. So please write the letter of the statement that you prefer. So the following 5 statements, which do you prefer? Number 1, blank makes me feel valued. A, being recognized for my achievements. B, being greeted with a hug or kiss on the cheek. C, being recognized on a special day with a gift. D, hanging out with my coworkers. Or E, having a coworker offer to do something for me. So number 1, pick one letter. Now, yes, you can pick more than one letter. You don't have to tell me. You just have to make a note of it for yourself. But I do see a lot of A's are coming out. Hang on to that. If you have more than one, that's okay. try to figure out which one is the first thing you thought of, and then hold on to that second one. All right, we're going to move on, but please keep your letters. Number 2, blank is really important to me. A, hearing thanks. B, sitting next to my coworkers. C, receiving a gift card as a thank you. D, people taking time to listen to my ideas. Or E, trusting that something I asked to be done is completed. So question number 2. Okay, number 3. After a large project is done, A, I'd like acknowledgement for a job well done. B, I'd be the one giving high fives or fist bumps. C, I'd enjoy a small token of appreciation for my efforts. D, I'd like to go out and celebrate with my coworkers. E, I'd appreciate others helping me wrap up. Okay, number 4. When I'm feeling stressed, blank would help me feel better. A, encouraging words. B, a hug from my best friend. C, someone taking time and effort to get me something that I like. D, people listening and showing genuine interest in what I'm saying. Or E, others helping get things done when I'm feeling stressed. Okay, number 5, of the following 5 statements, which do you prefer? I need blank every day. A, to hear positive feedback. B, to physically interact with people. C, to feel appreciated with a tangible reward. D, to spend quality time with people. Or E, to know that my coworkers are willing to help. All right, number 6, I value blank. A, written or verbal praise. B, being physically present for others. C, achievement awards or bonuses. D, being listened to. E, a cooperative environment. And our last one, number 7, I feel special when people go out of their way to A, tell me I'm doing a good job. B, give me a pat on the back or a hug. C, make a personalized gift for me. D, make time to spend with me. Or E, help me without being asked. So now what I'd like you to do, hopefully you have kept track on your own of which letters you selected for numbers 1 through 7. And I would like for you to tally up the number of A's you selected, the number of B, number of C's, D's, and E's. Okay. Did anyone have a 0 in any of the answers? Anyone have a 0? Okay. How about, oh wow, so someone had a 0 for 2. Anyone have a 4? Okay, so the way it works is this is a really quick, really fast poll. And obviously not a full assessment, only 7 items, right? However, it kind of can tell us where we're leaning. So the letter that you answered with that you have the most is most likely your love language at work. So the letter A, and you can write this down also, is words of affirmation. The letter B stands for physical touch. C is receiving gifts. D is quality time. And E is acts of service. So my shortcut, I would call A words, B is physical touch or just touch, C gifts, D QT, and E service. Now, do you remember when we started, I said the goal of the workshop is anybody? I know you're thinking it. It's seek to understand, right? So what I would like you to do is to look at the one that you have the lowest score or scores for and pay attention to that letter. So if your lowest was a C, when we talk about receiving gifts, start thinking about that. Think about like, okay, who do I know that this love language might belong to, and how can I show that person that I can speak their language in little ways. Okay, everyone understand their assignment? All right. Oh, what did I do? Okay, there. Okay, so words of affirmation is the person that values verbal and written recognition. They prefer not to get criticized. They try to avoid it in any way possible because for people who speak this language, um, the criticism hurts a lot more than the praise. So, for someone who doesn't have this as their love language, criticisms don't matter that much. They're just feedback, right? But for those of us who are words people, um, we really have a hard time with criticism. Um, how can you tell that a person prefers words of affirmation as their love language? Any ideas? Yes. So the key is if this is their love language and they speak it, that's how they're going to appreciate others. So as Summer said, they will praise others. Okay, so a person who uses words as their love language, in order to speak their language, you want to be specific in your praise. So rather than just a good job, and this goes with your clients too. If you can tell that they're a words of affirmation person, you want to be specific about what it is that you're praising them for. Like, great job at showing up to today's meeting on time. I know that it's really hard for you to squeeze in this hour uh, to have time to talk with me. So I really want to acknowledge that I see your efforts. You want to be sincere. So if you do not have a positive or healthy relationship with the person that you're speaking to, it's going to sound insincere, right? So if you think about it, if there's a person that you don't get along with and they tell you, "Hey, good job on that," you kind of think, "Do you really think that?" So you want to acknowledge and get the relationship to be healthy before you start using love languages. Does anyone have any ideas of how to acknowledge a person with this love language? Yes. So just say thanks. You want to acknowledge when the effort is made, and again, in a specific way. Now, I've been asked, should we recognize this person? Let's say it's a coworker in a newsletter or at a staff meeting. Do we want to kind of like we say put them on blast? And my response to that is you need to check with that person first, because even though words of affirmation may be their love language, they may not want to be out in public. Like they may just want that quiet appreciation by one person or the person that, you know, they report to, for example. Okay, the next we have is the letter B, which is physical touch. Many of you had 0 for physical touch. So how can you tell that this is someone's preferred love language, especially if they're online? Yes, they send hugs. Yes. So in on my phone, now that we have smartphones, people send me virtual hugs and I'm like, "Oh, you're a touch person." Um they might use language that kind of is more of a realistic like physical physical descriptions of things. They when they give compliments, it's more related to something like, I don't know. I want to say hard, like tangible. I'm gonna have to think about that a little bit. But definitely you can tell when you're in person because this person is always the touchy-feely one. And it may not be, it may not be hugs. It could be this person always kind of taps you like when they're talking, or when they see you, they grab your hands and they want to speak with you. Those are your physical touch folks. And of course, we need to acknowledge, and everyone here knows that, there are appropriate places to touch. In the workplace, we're talking hands, hand to hand, maybe on the shoulder, maybe on the top of the back. Um, but again, you definitely don't want to send the wrong message um, by using physical touch. You want to make sure that your intention is warm, supportive, and positive, and other things can constrict your use of this love language. For example, someone's comfort level. If they've had trauma of some sort, their culture may dictate that they don't ever touch, a certain gender or a certain, someone in a certain hierarchy. So we want to consider those things also. Um, and if you're not a touchy-feely person, which this comes across a lot, this is not a lot of people have this as their love language at work. Um, you still got to try. So if we're online, these are things like, high five to the camera or giving a hug, right? When I'm on the phone, when my kids used to video call, I would kiss the phone. And so those kinds of things where they can see physically that you're there. Another person that leads this workshop said, send them something physical of yours or that they can hold on to when you're talking with them. Okay, so moving forward, we have, my timer says maybe 5 minutes. So we can have questions and answers. Receiving gifts, these are folks who prefer to have something tangible to show appreciation. So it doesn't have to be something expensive, right? It could be, actually, I'm going to have you guys come up with ideas, but how can you tell that this is someone's preferred love language? Yes, you got it. They give you gifts. And it's not necessarily expensive gifts, right? It could be just like a card, it could be um, an email. They could say thank you over email. Um, let's see what other things people come up with in our next slide. So when you're talking with someone who speaks this language, you want to make sure that the gift that you give as a source of to show your appreciation is something that person would value. So, if it's a going away or a retirement party, you want to give them something they would actually enjoy. And so you have to ask, right? Or get someone to tell you what they know that they like. Yes. Okay. Um, if this is not their love language and you're plying them with gifts, they may feel like this is insincere. So we want to make sure that this gifts are their love language. There are some things that are just traditional in our cultures that we do. So someone wrote in the chat, food. Food is everybody's love language. Not everybody's, but food is great because it's its own love language category. Actually, you're right. Because it kind of touches on a lot of things. Um, when you prepare food, so you're showing your time and attention. So you're giving a physical gift, but then when you eat the food together, that's a quality time. Um, and it's also maybe delivered with words of affirmation. So a lot of times you can knock out 2 or 3 love languages with one gesture. Um, yes. So if they know that your love language is gifts, and yeah, sometimes it's hard for you to accept gifts. With my husband as an example, he's totally a gift giver, but I never get it right. I get it just wrong. So that's why it's important to find out what the person values. Or like for me, he just gets me gift cards because I'm not a gift person. So he knows I'll appreciate that. And if you have no budget or very little budget, um, yes, there's always like someone says there's a candy bowl, um, could be little notes, like little thoughtful gifts. Sometimes, like if I buy something and I get a little gift with purchase that I wouldn't use, but I know someone else would like it, like giving that to them. Also, if you're making food, as someone mentions in the comments, it is also an act of service. Yeah. So food is definitely one of those that hits a lot of the love languages. Okay, so we have 2 more to go. Quality time. This person, it's funny because when I read this, it's like, duh, of course. Everybody wants to be with and do things with people that they, enjoy being with. However, for quality time, this person really seeks out the company of others. They also like it when people stop what they're doing and take time to understand their feelings. So just like with the other love languages, you can tell someone is quality time has that as their preference because they're always trying to get quality time with you. Pop up in your cubicle, send you text messages, plan time for you to get together. So these are the people who always make their appointments. These are our quality time folks. They really want you to spend time with them in a quality way. So if you're in person, this means no distractions. So this is not one of my love languages. And so I'm often when I'm meeting with students, like my computer is up and sometimes I have to shift my body just to turn away from my screen so they know I'm with them. Um, in a work setting, some ideas that I've heard are, go take a walk. Like everybody, let's take a break. Let's just go for a walk and get some steps in, but also spend some time together. Um, Potluck. Potluck is a great way to spend quality time with folks. Okay. Finally, we have acts of service. So my guess is many of the folks in this Zoom room are people who have this as one of their highest numbers. Um, for those who truly have this as their love language, the goal for them is to be of service to create an environment that's stress-free, that's welcoming. It's really an act of aloha to try to make sure things are moving smoothly, right? Um, and so as with the other languages, if a person's love language is acts of service, they're the first to jump up and offer to help. And so, in order to show them appreciation, what you want to do is offer to help as well. However, A, this person will probably not ask for help. And B, if help is given, they would like it to be done voluntarily, of course, and at the same level of quality as they would do it. So, folks who are always doing things for others kind of have their own rhythm and way of doing it. And so it's helpful if you jump in, um, but do not ask, just tell. So let's say we're in an office setting and it's a potluck and the active service person is already cleaning up plates, and so you just jump in, you start cleaning up, right? You take things over to the sink and start washing the dishes. That's not something you would ask, what can I do? Because I got it, right? If there's a certain way that they do things, you want to emulate that for them, or ask, where do you want me to put these when I'm done, right? So that kind of a thing where you're acknowledging that they are doing something great and you're going to help. This is one of my lower ones, especially at work. So I have to be really cognizant of this, to make sure that I'm showing others who speak this as their love language that I see them and I'm willing to also jump in jump in the trenches with them. Okay, so aloha is an act of expression. So we talk a lot about nonverbals and verbals. When we express ourselves with aloha, um, we can't go wrong. And so, regardless of the language that you speak, even attempting to speak another person's language is showing them aloha. It's being humble, it's being thoughtful, caring, and also it's a way of trying to get to be at the same place that the other person is. And so I am curious about how you would practice speaking the five love languages at work and at home. And so I'd like to invite you to check in with me in a month. Um, I do have a little survey, of course, because I'm a words person, but also it helps me develop this workshop, and also gives me an opportunity to kind of do a pre and a post with you. So if you're interested, there's a question at the end that says, you want me to follow up? And then I send the survey again in a month. Um, Really quick. It's really, really quick survey. So it would be great if you go to go.hawaii.edu/5 capital C lowercase k. And if you're looking at this later and you weren't in our in-person live session, you can still do the survey and I will still follow up with you in a month. So now this is the end of my talking. So I'd like to know if there's any questions.
Thank you so much, Angela. That was such a informative and fun and engaging presentation. The QR code doesn't seem to be working. Uh,
Okay,
I can drop the link in there for you.
perfect.
Any other questions?
It worked for me. Yeah, it could be funky. I'm really not sure. But it is go.hawaii.edu. Oh, the QR code is working. And
Let me see. Let me throw it in here.
also Ayako has a copy of the slides as well.
Yes.
So
It's up on iEcho if you folks want to download. And there was a fun survey if you want to go back and do it again. And we have a nice comment. This is really great. As a people manager, I find it so important to know the love language for the people on our team, on his team. Thanks, Chris. Very informative and eye-opening. So many mahalos coming through. We did drop that link to the survey. Please take a moment to go ahead and fill that out for Angela. Any other comments or questions? Still a lot of thank yous coming in. Next week, we have a couple of international speakers coming in to speak about natural disasters and child mental health. So that'll be a treat. I know one is from Brazil. Dan, do you know where the other speaker is from? Vlatka Marsanik. Sounds like Russia. I don't know.
Yeah, somewhere far, far away. I think there's also from Norway also.
Okay.
Um, but we're very fortunate to have this opportunity, and we'll be looking at climate crisis from a global perspective and in its effect on mental health across the globe.
Yeah, and they are tuning in at a very odd hour for them to be with us, so we are super grateful to have.
Very, very early and very, very, very late.
Yeah. So so that'll be nice. Thank you so much, Angela. Does anyone else have any
Thank
questions
you, Angela.
or comments? If not, we are happy to give you 6 minutes left of your lunch hour to.
Yay.
Okay. Thank you so much. We appreciate you being here with us. A heart's coming through. Lots of mahalos. And again, her email is on the slide deck on iEcho if you'd love to do that. Did you say 5-week follow-up?
1 month.
1 month follow-up. 1 month follow-up. So mahalo, 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 everyone. See you next week.
Bye.
Thank you.